Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to your first field talk for track 1 of this topical training. My name is Megan Yarber, and I'm going to be the host for this field talk. At this time, I would like to welcome back our moderator and field talk presenter for today, Marianne Mozak with Ascend.
Well, hello, everyone. It's great to know that we're going to have time to talk. And also, I just want to say that my name is Marianne Mozak. I'm the president of Ascend, and I'm so very glad to be with all of you, and I can't wait to hear your feedback in the field talk rooms. I would also like to present Thelma Moten, and I'm going to just kind of pitch it over to her, and I want you to introduce yourself, Thelma, and tell us who you are and what you do so very well.
I am so excited for all of you who are considered new grantees. My name is Thelma Moten, and I am the founder and executive director of a healthy relationships organization in Central Arkansas for over 30 years. And we've been in the process of assisting other communities developing and maintaining and sustaining healthy relationship programs. And so I'm so excited that you guys are here. Can't wait for you to network, and I can't wait to hear from your networking session. And so I'm excited to be with you, and at the end, maybe we can interact a little bit more. So we're gonna hear from you a little bit later after the networking sessions.
Thank you. So we're going to have this field talk is going to utilize breakout rooms, and you don't have to do anything. It's really magical the way Zoom just sends you to the room, and you will probably be in the discussion room with maybe another 4 or 5 people. And so what we would like you to do in there is we're going to talk about the 2 sessions that you have just heard today. The first one being the Human Flourishing program at Harvard and its application to SRAE education. And then secondly, the optimal health model that was presented by Dr. Foley, moving students along a continuum toward risk avoidance. And so we know there's a lot of, there were a lot of questions on the first session, and unfortunately we did not get time for questions and answers in there, but we still want you to be able to talk about the takeaways from those, that first session. Especially, they shared the 6 domains regarding happiness and life satisfaction, mental and physical health, meaning and purpose, character and virtue, and close social relationships. And we want you to talk about how those domains, how do you promote those domains? Do you see the intersections in your curriculums and in your program overall, and how you might utilize those? And if there's a domain that you have maybe not actually implemented to the fullest, how you would do that. And then the second thing we'd like you to talk about is in what area of the optimal health model could your program increase effectiveness and how? So this is how it's going to work. You don't have to remember those questions. You'll be sent to your breakout rooms, and what we'd ask you to do when you get in your breakout room, some brave soul, please begin and you introduce yourself and regarding the questions. And the question is going to be broadcast in the room, and you'll see it. And unfortunately, it's not going to stay there really long. So if you want to jot down a couple notes, that'll be fine too. And then it'll be broadcast a second time, maybe 2 or 3 minutes later. But and then just proceed to discuss. So there's a couple things about the discussion. The first thing you'll need to do is when you're about to speak, please tell everyone in the room who you are, what the name of your organization is, and what state you're coming from. Because that's the point of networking, because we've seen people say, oh, you're from Kansas, I'm from Kansas. And that's always really a really productive kind of networking and connections that can be made. So introduce yourself that way. And then we would also like you at the start, someone can either volunteer or you can actually just vote on someone quickly to be your scribe and to be the person who is going to report back to the larger group. Now we're going to have a number of small group breakout sessions. So when you are called back to the large group, we're going to be calling on different breakout rooms and ask you to share, hey, what were some of your takeaways? What were, ideas? What were new ideas you might have had about how to implement some of the domains? And then, so that will be how you will function. And then the second question is also, I'm sorry, I don't mean to confuse you, but you're going to be called back just one time, but in the group, you're going to first see the first question and you're going to be given some time to discuss that. And then watch for the second question to be also put in your breakout room and then discuss that. And they will be on the 2 sessions that you heard today. So with that, I hope that was clear enough. I think you'll get the hang of it. If someone on here is not familiar with the breakout rooms, it's pretty straightforward. But we really, as Thelma said, really are anxious to hear from you, hear your questions, hear your good ideas. And even though we've been at this a long time, we never stop learning, right? And we're always interested, especially in new grantees and your fresh ideas. So with that, Megan, I'll turn it to you and the magic of the breakout rooms.
Thank you, Marianne. So before we do that, we are going to drop the field questions into the chat, and then that way you should be able to access those in the chat. And then, as Marianne said, we will also be sharing them in a broadcast, but when those messages pop up, they won't pop up and stay for very long. So drop those in the chat for you to have there. You will be going to the breakout rooms automatically. If you do need any help, there's an option within your breakout room to request assistance. Just simply hit that button and one of us will come to help you. And with that, we will go ahead and see you guys after your discussion.
One of the things that we have found to be most effective when we're training is so many grantees have always said we'd love to have an opportunity to network. And in that networking, we have learned so much from you guys. And so we are so excited to hear some of the outcomes from your getting together this afternoon. And so what we'd like to do is if you would just turn on your cameras, we'd love to see your faces. And then if you would raise your hand and just give us, share with us some of the takeaways from your time together in your networking session. So I know you're all ready to go, so let's just raise your hand and I'll call on you. Okay, Ramonda Henderson, how are you? Turn on your microphone and share with us.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ramonda Henderson. In my breakout group, I was able to meet other young women, or not young women, other women who have been so experienced. And it is great for me because I met Miss Philippia. I'm sorry, Miss Phillip, if I'm saying your name wrong, but she is so knowledgeable and she has done all of this stuff and she was spitting out statistics and 12 to 24 years, this will happen. And just so knowing, like she talking like it's like the back of her head. And I'm like, yo, I want to be like you when I grow up too. So I love hearing knowledge and I love hearing the passion behind everything. And that's basically what I learned. And being able to ask them if I could come and experience their organization and just see how they run and to see if I can glean from information from them. And we were able to connect. So that's one thing for me.
That's the key. That's key. Anyone else? Just want to share a little bit. The question was, which of the human flourishing domains does your program promote best? Anyone want to share from that? Yes, is that Mickey?
I was with a group, and what was awesome is that we were from lots of places across the country using 5 different programs. So we really got to pick each other's brain a little bit. We even got a little bit of time to talk about some of the challenges we're facing right now. But I would say our group as a whole felt like the strength was the close social relationships. Most of the people on our team felt like that's an area that they were working very hard at, and it was a strength of their program.
Great. Someone else, raise your hand. Thank you so much.
You see Santa
Matthew? Yes.
Okay.
All right. Hey, everyone. How you doing? So we actually, I appreciate y'all putting us in a breakout room, because we were in the room with someone from California, Melissa, South Carolina, America Samoa, and a lot of what people were talking about in our group was we're fairly new, to the program, and also just trying to figure out if we were to pick which one of those choices would fit. We talked a lot about like the mental health aspect and the physical health part to kind of work towards building that aspect, because we all during this time, we know that that's something that still needs to be focused in on. And I also said to them, I was like, even though we figured out things, the pandemic has quickly showed us how we needed to throw all of that away and start anew. So, I mean, and that just opens up a lot for us. The other thing that was mentioned, I think we utilize, Melissa uses Real Essentials, and I use Choosing the Best, and how I talked about how I love that curriculum as well. And just thinking about what Bernard said. He said that they're utilizing the curriculum that was created by their director, and they come from a holistic approach for it. So they make sure that they touch all like the mental health and things of that nature, and they're eager to start doing that. And then the last thing we spoke about, being, a lot of us are from what you consider the Bible Belt, and SRAE is pretty much the only thing that you can talk about, and how we can just make sure that we provide the youth with the complete tools to doing the 100% way of alleviating any mental health, any emotional stress, any other of the other risk factors that come along with sexual risk and stuff like that. So it was really good. I appreciate that opportunity to meet with some different people around.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for
Thanks
sharing.
for sharing,
Matthew, I
Deborah.
saw your hand up. Matthew Murray, is that right? Want to hear from you.
All right. Thank you for giving me the space. Okay, so we were room 19. Room 19. Hey, we found out that was our number at the last minute. So we talked about intensely talking about how building close social relationships was our most prominent branch of this kind of outlook and model. So especially when it comes to building close relationships, not just with one another, but outside. So being intentional about what do healthy relationships look like? What do they not look like? And then really treating close relationships as something that's things that you build from the ground up. And we also, and some of them also mentioned that becomes character and virtue as well, because in building those understandings of how close relationships work and how they should work, they try to draw out people who may be a little more reserved and try to get them to get involved a little more. I know Jerry talked about that in our group, because Tanya also talked about, because she was the first one to talk about close relationships translating into character and virtue. So things with fighting peer pressure despite where you are. So these close relationships really kept these programs together and these kids together, and that's what they really benefited from off of this. So yeah.
Great. Thank you, Matthew. Oh yes, is that Joanna? Joanna, okay.
Hi, I'm Joanna, as you can see from my name at the bottom of my screen, and I'm in California. And our group had a really great discussion. We had people, we had someone from Georgia, we had people from Denver, and also a woman from Guam. So we really stretched across the world. And our discussion was really interesting. One of the things that came up in conversation was that domain 6 was missing from the list, the financial well-being. And one of the reasons I brought it up is that we work with foster youth, and often they don't have the kind of community support. There's a lot of structural issues that they're dealing with and barriers. But the one thing that we all came together when we were talking was about supporting that community, creating community, especially when communities are really fractured. Mm-hmm. So creating those adult relationships was a strength that we all felt that we had. But I was interested in, going back to that financial domain, like what that does in terms of stressors on the other factors. So our programs were very diverse in who we were serving. So that was interesting too. We had pregnant and parenting. We had an adolescent youth program that served 11 to 14-year-olds in Guam. And then we had a program that was centered around in Georgia, in a city, and also in rural communities. So there was a real diversity of demographic that we were serving. And I thought that was a really fascinating conversation to have.
Thank you so much, guys. I really would like for you to take advantage when you go back into some of the chat rooms over the next few days, is to really connect and get connected with getting information so you can follow up with each other. It's going to be really helpful when you go back in the field to just kind of connect with one another. Someone else, did I miss a hand?
Thelma, I wanted to comment on something Joanna said about the financial domain. You'll notice that Dr. Lee, he presented the 5 domains, and then he had 2 bulleted points. His second bulleted point, he mentions the financial, and he explained that by saying that the first 5 were what he considers, or what the research shows, are consensus domains. Mm-hmm. Most people, agree with those. But the financial and material was really not a consensus, but it certainly is a strong. And Joanna, your mic is off, so we can't hear you. So anyway, so I just wanted to clear that up, that is why Jonine did include it, because it is a very essential domain.
And one of the components in what we do in some of the areas that we serve, we really hone in on the success sequence. And young people are really interested as to how that financial piece can make a difference, in sharing with them practical ways of developing credit and maintaining credit, and why that's important. That's such a part of the optimal health model for us. For those of you who were in that breakout room, oh my goodness, with Flip from More Than Conquerors, I'm sure you guys got a wealth of information. I think Flip is on here. Yeah, there you are. I see you up in the corner. Hey, Flip. I'm glad you were in the room, sharing all that wealth that you have. Okay.
And Flip, would you mind unmuting yourself and just telling us how you present the success sequence in your programs? Because I know it's very effective, the way you do it.
I was sharing with the ladies based on the question that we had in terms of, what we do well in the program. And I was telling her is that sometimes initially we start off with telling students that all of us want to know where we've come from, that speaks to our identity, why in the world are we here, which speaks to our purpose, and then where we're going, which speaks to our destiny. And so when we start looking at futuristically, no matter where it is that you're coming from, is that you want to think about your future family and the people or the children that you want to be responsible for. And it especially works with if students have come from a very impoverished, community, and asking them, how do they see themselves? What is the plan for their lives? Well, if they considered the success sequence and then spelling out to them what the success sequence is that no matter where they've come from, is that they can change that trajectory for themselves for the future and for their children in the future. And even if they're parenting, making some different choices now, although they have initially missed out, on the choices they've made in terms of the sequence of the success sequence, but you still can make some prudent choices from this point forward so that you won't repeat that same scenario. And although you may have to have some detours, it's that you still can end up successfully, and you can start looking at that your whole life, you can just be optimally better and your children futuristically, even if you missed it from the beginning, is that we can always start over and have a second chance. But initially, if you are looking at your life and the decisions that you need to make in order to be successful, then this is a method that is proven to work if you choose to follow it. And we are here to walk you through that and to provide resources to help you get through it, all the noise that's surrounding you that's giving you a different message, because this is the A1 message, and we want the very best for you to make the very best choice for your life.
Thanks so much for sharing that valuable information. Yes. Guys, I want us to move a little further along, and I want to talk about the second presentation, and I want to talk about in the area of optimal health. That whole optimal health model that Jonine did such a fabulous job on. Did you guys have an opportunity to talk about what your program could do to increase the effectiveness? And what does that look like when you're promoting the optimal health model? Would some of you be willing to share from your gathering?
Maybe to start the questioning or the discussion also, the optimal health model is really about meeting students where they are, right? Mm-hmm. And moving them toward optimal health. And would really like to hear from you how you assess that. Is there certain things you do to actually meet students where they are?
I can say,
Audra has her hand up for that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's where, at least I can speak for myself as a facilitator. I kick it off with a lot of student engagement, meaning that I don't want them to just kick it off with just my voice. I need to know, in order to know where they are, I ask questions. For example, one of my icebreakers, and this is just an example of what I do to kind of kick off optimal health understanding and knowing where I can find, meet them where they are. I have each of the students, I say, okay, all I need you to do, I'm going to type in the chat a sentence, and all you have to do is finish it. And what I type in the chat is, the one thing I love more than anything else in the world is blank. Then the next question, the one thing I hate more than anything else in the world is blank. But then I say, okay, we're going to turn it up. And then my third question is, if there was one thing that I could receive, the one thing I would want is this. And then that fourth one is, the one thing that happened to me in my life that I wish I could change is what? And the questions dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And I tell them, you don't have to share it. But what they do is they share it with me through direct message. And I like that because I can then I can do the program based on their individual needs. When you're talking about optimal health, I know where you are, and I know the things that might serve as a barrier to this person and this person and this person, because that thing might not be the barrier for, Jane over here. But now I know that. And because I know that, I can do exactly what was talked about in the session here when we're talking about optimal health, is to say, okay, now I know that you had this situation. So then therefore I can tailor this particular part of the program to meet your needs so that you can receive the information in a way that's going to not only benefit you, but receive it in a way that's going to meet you where you are, because you're not where John is and you're not where Mary is, but that doesn't mean that you're not where you need to be. I just need to make sure that I can meet you there. And so then I can talk about things like, okay, well, based on what happened to you, do you think that tapped into why you make the decisions that you make? And then they're starting to realize it themselves, because when we're not there, they're going to have to understand how to use these tools on their own anyway. And so that icebreaker kind of sets it up where you're teaching the optimal health methodology of the success module, but you're also showing them how to learn how to think for themselves when they use that particular model.
Oh, I love that, how you're just from the initial, you're building in that whole sense of self-efficacy, and you're giving them those critical thinking components. That is really good.
Yeah.
Wait, how many of you would like to have Miss Luke as your teacher? Huh? lot of good energy there. Wow. Keep it going, girl.
And if I could say something really quick to Ms. Luke, I love your energy, like she said, and it also gives them a sense of, you know, being a part of the process. You know, when you're doing that, it gives them ownership. It makes them want to be a part of it. So I love that. That was great.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I've done it for 11 years in the incarceration centers and the high schools, in the magnet schools, you name it, across the board. That's the only thing, especially now that we're on Zoom, you know, interactions really, it's like pulling teeth sometimes. But when I kick it off, where I let them know it's not about me, I'm here to provide you with tools necessary to be successful, but I want to hear about you. You know, and I promise you, and this is the key, if you do that, you also have to say, if you answer that question, I promise you, I won't ask you anything that I'm not willing to answer myself. So when they share, the one thing I love more is this, I have to say, okay, well, the one thing I love, you know, more than anything is I have to go with them on that journey, because that's the only way they'll trust me enough to share what's really going on. So, you know, I'll be quiet.
Okay. That's key. You're building that trust factor. And then the other thing is, you're not just there doing sentence. You are engaging them. And that is so critical, that we have those interactive opportunities. And that's where the kids can own it. All of a sudden, they're not just hearing it. Now they are a part of it. I love that. Good job. Okay.
We have Sanabu that I think wanted to respond.
So it's funny how I'm going right after. Yeah, you asked the question, won't you love to have her as your facilitator? She's actually one of my facilitators. Yay. But just to just give a little bit more about something that we also provide is that we try to, because we were put on ice, so of course the pandemic didn't allow us to just hit the ground running. We needed to make sure that we meet the needs of the youth, and there are outside needs that they have, you know, that our SRAE education may not, you know, provide. We may not know that they have other needs that may be hindering them from reaching their greatness. So we also changed our intake form, and we made it digital, and we try to push, you know, incentivizing them to share things with reason, you know, that they may need. Maybe they may need more supplies at home or something like that. Or is there something that they need assistance with as far as tutoring? So when we're intentional about the things that we're asking, although we have a framework that we have to follow, like Ms. Luke was saying, we just make sure that we incorporate in different ways, whether it be music, whether it be outside speakers, whether it be just energy, because I live off my energy, and I'm like, dang, how can I give them the energy that I have through Zoom? I can't touch you no more. I can't give you a pat on the back, but I'm gonna give you my energy and tell you that not only are you gonna learn from me, you're teaching me how to even work through this pandemic, and I applaud them for even being as resilient as they are, you know, to switch into something as well as still be expected to do all the things. I don't know if I could have done the same thing, you know? So just being intentional and just thinking outside the box, you know, with fidelity. I know we have to follow fidelity, but outside the box on how we are giving this information to the youth, and that they need holistic help. They need holistic assistance so that they can reach those goals, because this is a temporary obstacle that they have. It may not seem like it right now, but it's temporary and we need to get over it. That obstacle.
You know, one of the things we talk about a lot, whether you are Zoom or whether you're in person, just listening to you guys, you can pick up that energy and the heart. So when we're working with our young people and giving them our heart, those kids are going to get it, whether it's through Zoom or small group. One of the things that's really good is to provide those opportunities outside of the classroom if possible. We're doing virtual small groups, and it's amazing that those young people are signing on. And so giving those opportunities to connect socially outside of the classroom implementation is key for helping those kids to make those social connections.
I love the fact that you all enjoyed meeting people from different states and different parts of the country. There's a great value in knowing that you're not alone in what you're doing. And it's heartening to see that. And I hope you do appreciate each other and know that you're not alone. That's for sure. And that there's a whole army of you across the country that are trying to get a really important message to our young people. So we certainly applaud you for the work you're doing, and hope that you enjoyed today and that we will see you tomorrow.
Guys.
Hey, Miss Thelma.
Hi.
Thank you, everyone.